A driver police say was, quote, hell-bent on carnage and rammed into a crowd at a high rate of speed.
Unfolded, and witnesses on scene told me that they saw a truck moving into a crowd at a high rate of speed.
Investigators believe Jabbar picked up the rented F-150 in Houston, Texas on December 30th, end quote. Additionally, he stated he had joined ISIS before this summer.
There's been a ton of talk about the connection between the man suspected of blowing up a cyber truck in front of the Trump Hotel and Jabbar's terrorist attack.
Unique circumstances surrounding both incidents, and that's what the FBI admits. You know what? There are certainly some similarities.
In the early hours of New Year's Day, Shamsud-Din Jabbar, a 42-year-old Army veteran, carried out a devastating attack on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, driving a rented pickup truck into a crowd of revelers. The tragic incident claimed the lives of 14 people and left dozens more injured. Before the attack, Jabbar posted a series of 5 videos on Facebook, revealing chilling details about his motives and plans. According to Christopher Raya, Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI's Counterterrorism Division, Jabbar's videos discussed a shift in his intentions, initially planning to end his family before deciding to target a public gathering to draw attention to a war between the believers and the disbelievers. Jabbar also declared his allegiance to ISIS in these videos, stating he had joined the group earlier that year. The timeline of the events leading to the attack indicates meticulous planning. Jabbar began posting the videos between 1:29 a.m. and 3:02 a.m., just hours before the attack occurred at 3:15 a.m. He also planted 2 improvised explosive devices, though details about these devices remain under investigation. After ramming his truck into the crowd, Jabbar exchanged arm fire with police and was slayed at the scene. An ISIS flag was found in the truck, further confirming his stated allegiance to the terrorist organization. Officials from law enforcement are currently seeking to make sense of how Jabbar, a citizen of the United States who was born in Texas and who served in the military, became radicalized. His films, digital gadgets, and potential connections to extremist networks are being investigated by the authorities throughout this investigation.
A driver police say was, quote, hell-bent on carnage and rammed into a crowd at a high rate of speed.
Unfolded, and witnesses on scene told me that they saw a truck moving into a crowd at a high rate of speed.
He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did. It was very intentional.
Now, the New Orleans police superintendent said the suspect fired at officers from his vehicle, striking 2 of them.
Learned the identity of that suspect. 42-year-old Shamsud-Din Jabbar is the man accused.
Investigators believe Jabbar picked up the rented F-150 in Houston, Texas on December 30th. 5 videos posted on Jabbar's Facebook account, which are time-stamped beginning at 1:29 a.m.
There is no apparent explanation for Jabbar's shift that can be found in his background. Born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, his relatives characterized him as a kind and gentle-spoken man. Shamsud-Din was described as very well-tempered and slow to anger by his brother, Abdur Jabbar, who voiced his amazement upon hearing of the incident. As the family proceeded to narrate their religious upbringing, which, according to Abdur, centered on the principles of peace and community, the family's uncertainty grew even more profound.
Out here, they have their armored vehicle. This is a property behind Jabbar's home here. Standing outside the home with his hands up, there is SWAT outside the home as well, giving him commands. Here, what his connection is to Jabbar. We just know that he's at his house, but they clearly need to talk to him about some things. They were likely moving them to safety. They moved into a command post right next to this scene. Police or FBI, but about an hour later, we saw some undercover detectives showing up and telling us to move back.
Over the course of more than a decade, beginning in March 2007 and ending in January 2015, Shamsud-Din Jabbar served in the Army. During that time, 2009 and 2010, he was sent to Afghanistan. In the years after his discharge from active duty, he remained in the Army Reserve until 2020, eventually rising to the rank of Staff Sergeant. In his time in the military, he had positions as a human resource specialist and an information technology specialist, both of which were abilities that he subsequently utilized in his transition into civilian life. His first degree was in computer science, and his second degree was in information systems. He received his degrees from Central Texas College and Georgia State University, respectively.
Just want to say hello and let you know a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and now live in Houston, where I learned the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsive and take everything seriously. Brilliantly market your property to make sure it gets sold as quickly as possible or gets leased as quickly as possible. Once we get to the closing table, all the I's are going to be dotted, all the T's are going to be crossed, everything's going to go off without a hitch.
Regarding his professional career, Jabbar worked at Deloitte and Accenture, where he specialized in data engineering and business development, respectively. These accomplishments represented a man who was devoted to leadership and discipline, as seen by a video that Jabbar uploaded to YouTube in 2020. In the video, Jabbar underlined the virtues that were ingrained in him by his time spent serving in the military. On the other hand, this seeming success has obscured the underlying difficulties. The records of the court show that there has been a history of difficult divorces and legal issues. In 2012, Jabbar's first marriage came to an end, and this was followed by a protracted fight for child support. On the basis of charges of disharmony and a restraining order, his second marriage ended in dissolution in 2020. Additionally, Jabbar was confronted with a number of financial challenges, including the possibility of foreclosure on his house and the accumulation of debts, which included a reported $16,000 in credit card bills and major losses resulting from a failed business endeavor.
Is being made, and they believe that he worked alone in terms of executing the attack itself. Also, financial stressors. We know that stress can be one of the factors that leads people to extremism. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security sent out a bulletin to 18,000 law enforcement agencies. An individual drove a pickup truck into a crowd of people on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, killing at least 10. The suspect, giving his age as 42, a U.S. citizen from the state of Texas.
Lone actors, yes, inspired by ISIS, but online, but acting alone.
Additionally, Jabbar's history includes several run-ins with the authorities. He entered a guilty plea to a misdemeanor stealing charge in the state of Texas in 2002. In 2015, he was charged with driving under the influence when he was stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. The neighbors and acquaintances who knew him characterized him as courteous and calm, despite the occurrences that occurred. According to Mumtaz Bashir, a neighbor from Houston, Jabbar was seen packing a rental Ford F-150 Lightning truck soon before the attack. He was doing this under the guise of traveling to New Orleans for a new job. Along with other people who knew Jabbar, Bashir did not observe any indications of radicalization or aggressive inclinations in Jabbar. Adding a layer of complexity to the inquiry is the fact that the attack was connected to ISIS. The police are still trying to piece together how and when Jabbar became radicalized, despite the fact that his techniques and words are consistent with the doctrine of the group. Additionally, the fact that he used a leased vehicle, which was obtained through the car-sharing company Turo, prompted concerns regarding the possible security flaws that may exist within the rental process.
Investigators believe Jabbar picked up the rented F-150 in Houston, Texas on December 30th, end quote. Additionally, he stated he had joined ISIS before this summer, and he posted several videos to an online platform proclaiming his support for ISIS. The news headlines would not focus on the, quote, war between the believers and the disbeliever.
The owner of the truck verified that it had been hired through Turo, which subsequently terminated the vehicle's ability to be rented out again. A statement was released by the corporation expressing shock and sympathies to the families of the fatalities, while also highlighting their willingness to cooperate with law police. Another event that occurred on the same day in Las Vegas was a Tesla Cybertruck that detonated outside of a Trump hotel. This incident adds to the larger context of worry that has been taken into consideration. Despite the fact that the name of the driver has not been established, the police are looking into whether or not this instance was also a terrorist attack. The FBI and other agencies are currently conducting investigations to identify any possible connections between the disasters that occurred in New Orleans and Las Vegas.
So found a passport. We found a Desert Eagle 50 caliber semi-automatic pistol. 7-year-old Matthew Livelsberger. He's of Colorado Springs, Colorado, born July. His body is burnt beyond recognition, and I do still not have confirmation 100%. Individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation. He rented the Turo vehicle. There are 2 tattoos, one of which was on the stomach.
As the inquiry continues, Jabbar's family continues to be in a state of distress. His father Rahim Jabbar and his brother Abdur are having a difficult time reconciling the man they previously knew with the person who committed such a heinous act.
You know that our subject here served in the military. In fact, he's a current member of the military. Remain under investigation. I also know that they both served in Afghanistan in 2009. He was also a Green Beret operations sergeant who spent most of his time at Fort Carson, Colorado. That's north on the boulevard from Sands at 839, where he then immediately heads to the Trump Hotel.
There's been a ton of talk about the connection between the man suspected of blowing up a cyber truck in front of the Trump Hotel and Jabbar's terrorist attack.
Unique circumstances surrounding both incidents, and that's what the FBI admits. You know what? There are certainly some similarities.
The incongruity between Rahim's son's upbringing and the attack was also illustrated by Rahim's description of his son as someone who understood what it meant to be a Muslim. This opinion highlights the significant obstacles that families and communities encounter when attempting to recognize and treat radicalization.
We're aggressively running down all of the leads to identify the possible subject's associates. We are asking if anybody has any interactions with Shamsud-Din Jabbar in the last 72 hours to provide it to the FBI. We have set up a digital tip line as well as our 1-800 number.
The tragic events on New Year's Day have left an indelible mark on the victims' families, the New Orleans community, and the nation. As authorities work to unravel the factors that led to this devastating act, questions remain about how a man with such a promising background could be drawn into a violent extremist ideology. The answers may lie in the intricate interplay of personal, social, and ideological influences, a sobering reminder of the complexities of combating terrorism in today's world. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.